Hello children, in today's class we are going to study journalism. I am going to introduce journalism to you. So the title of the paper is Introduction to Mass Communication. So what is journalism? Journalism is one of the most important professions in the world. It informs citizens about various events that take place in their community, state, country and the world. So the reports of journalists help people to form opinions and knowledge, and also to know the current affairs. So journalists, they inform the public through newspapers, magazines, radio and television. So every day, if you see, journalists throughout the world, they gather, write and edit material for thousands of news stories. Local reporters, for example, they cover local events. And other journalists, including foreign correspondents, they cover national and international news. So journalism is defined as the part of social activity which is concerned with the dissemination of news and views about society. So what is journalism? It is considered as a part of social activity which is concerned with the dissemination of news and views about society. And in democratic countries, people depend on the news media for fair and truthful reports of current events. And these democratic countries, they grant freedom to the press to report news and express opinions without government interference. So freedom of expression actually encourages the reporters to exchange the ideas among citizens, so which is essential for the survival of a democracy. So what is journalism? Journalism is basically news and maybe entertainment and reassurance to satisfy the human curiosity. And the word journalism was originally applied to the reportage of current events in printed form, specifically newspapers. But with the advent of radio, television and the use of internet in the 20th century, the use of the term broadened to include all printed and electronic communication. And the next important question that comes to our mind is, when I introduced journalism, the next question that arises in your mind is, why we need news? Why do we need news? What is the reason or purpose? Why do we need news, public or people? The reason is, it's very simple. Human mind, or we crave for news and we are addicted to it. We are curious creatures with an urge to know what is happening next door, or the street, in the town, other parts of the state where we live in, nationally or internationally. So we have an instinct compulsion to gather and consume news. So in such a valuable tool, journalism is a valuable tool in our fight for survival. And it is like our basic needs like food, shelter and clothing. So news is intangible. So therefore it is almost impossible to define news. And we get news from words, pictures, sounds, smells, taste, touch, etc. So anything that arouses our senses or emotions is considered as news. Primarily, if you see, news happens when an event, action, or circumstances um, has an impact on people or their way of life. So it is a knowledge, it is discoveries. It could be jokes, predictions, revelations, and analysis. And also, we can consider news as our brightest hopes, and sometimes it could be even our worst fears. Yet, while news is difficult to define, it is a commodity. It is considered by many as a commodity. Commodity means news is bought and sold, and it is sometimes given freely and often stolen. So it helps us make sense of our world by developing our understandings, learning, and intuition. And it is spread by word of mouth in newspapers, magazines, radio, television, and now in new media. And it guides us, it informs the public. So it helps us make sense of our world by developing our understanding, learning, and intuition. So news for one person in one place be only of passing interest, but to someone else, somewhere else, it could be a great news. And the next question that comes to our mind is, where and when did ideas about news originate? So we are going to study now origin of news. See, the earliest medium humans used to transmit news was touch, followed by the language of gestures and grunts. Then came primitive drawings and diagrams scratched on the ground, rocks, and cave walls. So as humans evolved, news came to be transmitted by word of mouth, and much later through written language. So at first, news would have been shared information about problems and basic survival issues, like where to find food and how to avoid dangerous wild animals, or lighting fires, or even identifying poisonous plants, where they could find water, and so on. Often there would have been news about rival tribes and groups. If there was a fight, we do not know, perhaps who killed who and why, such things. And there would also have been an element of gossip. That's why we include gossip also in the news. Who was on with whom, who made his wives, something like that. Who went to, there, something like that. And if you see, it's in about 3400 BC. While word mouth was still important, news started to be transmitted as handwritten hieroglyphic inscriptions in clay. Okay, that is in 3400 BC. Still, news was only word of mouth, and then it started to be transmitted as handwritten hieroglyphic inscriptions in clay. And much later, first in China and later in Europe, came paper making, and that was a massive leap forward with the invention of printing, then inks and mobile type. So that meant news could be printed on handbills, pamphlets, then in newspapers. So for the first time, many different people were able to access the same news stories told in the same way by the same person, that is mass media. Okay, or more correctly, which we use the media for the masses, which we use now. So this is all for the day. Next class we will see in detail the origin of news. Thank you.